we're going to put the QR code on the corner. And then we said, no, we can put it on 4 corners. And then if it folds, you can just grab it and scan it from any direction. And we thought that is the innovation of the century. 20,000 annualized.
So
within a year, we were at $1 million ARR.
Wait. What the hell? Wait. So, man, that was fucking insane. I love that. In today's episode, we're going into the laundry business. My guest is Halaoui, co-founder of Washmen, the company that turned a boring laundromat idea into a tech-powered consumer brand in Dubai. How did they validate the idea of Washmen before they built it with a scrappy Facebook ad, and how they hit 1 million annual recurring revenue in their first year. And you'll hear about the insane operational obsession behind the scenes, from RFID tags and color-sorted orders to treating every garment as a piece of someone's identity, not just a piece of clothes. Let's jump in. What was the spark that led you and your co-founder to create Washmen?
So the story is Rami was already at Uber, and he had joined Uber in the pursuit of learning how to build a digital business, online, mobile-based business, whatever you want to call it. He was in private equity, did that jump, joined Uber to figure that out. And after he did Uber for about a year, he was time for me to do it on my own. He left in around March, April, and then he invited me to invest. That became join me to build it. And then I quit my job, and then I moved here within a month and a half. And I think within 2 weeks, I was here. But within a month of him telling me to join him, I had said yes, and 2 weeks later, I was here at NFL. Pretty fast. The idea stemmed from the fact when he was a banker, he just had a lot of clothes. They get damaged, they get lost. You always have a credit with the guy, and then all of a sudden you thought you owed him 500 dirhams and you owe him 1,500. The entire experience was broken, and he knew that with Uber you can actually digitize the experience. You can tokenize payments, meaning you can charge immediately. You can do it on an app. You can do it on demand. You can do it with relatively high quality. So the offering seemed ripe to be introduced to the market. And so he saw that. And I was in operations in oil and gas. I didn't really think too much about laundry and dry cleaning. In Canada, you don't have these luxuries. You don't have the culture of laundry and dry cleaning this way. I remember when I had to give my dry cleaning jacket, it was like one of those pea coats. It took about 3 weeks to get it back. Yeah, it's spring cleaning, right? You do it after the winter. You give your jacket. In a small town, it was 3 weeks. In Calgary, where I was living at that point, it was about 5 days. So I never really thought about it. So it was mainly his idea, right? It was only his idea. And for me, it was come help me build it. Because on the ops side, he thought I would be more capable. And he thought he knew he would be more capable on the engineering, product, finance side.
I'm interested, what motivated you to shift industry and come to Dubai and like, hey, join your friend, I'm doing a laundromat business. I mean, now it's sexy, but in those days, it's considered a boring business.
Listen, it was, I didn't know anything about Uber at that point. I had maybe taken one Uber taxi ride. That's what I remember now. I used to say I had never taken an Uber, but I taken one Uber taxi ride in Montreal. For me, it was just, I knew Rami. I knew him very well. I believed in his capability to execute. I believed that we could work together. And it was time for me at that junction in my life, this is a critical part of it, to say I'm ready to bet on myself. Either I go do an MBA, because I wanted to leave North America at that point. But the offer for me was not there. Go to Angola, go to Udaliya in Saudi. I wanted to go to Norway. That wasn't on the cards. They offered me a transfer to Houston. I didn't believe in the project they were doing. And the offer came from Rami to join him, or I was going to do an MBA, and I was in the middle of studying for the GMAT. So the offer came in, and it just seemed like the best, least risky option, because I could have always gone back to oil and gas. I was a high performer. And it just said, now I have language for it. It's called a two-way door versus a one-way door. And I saw going and trying this out as a two-way door, not a one-way door. I believed it didn't work. I can always go back to oil and gas. What's the big deal? Why not bet on myself after I've done all this like baptism of fire, of working in crazy environments, being promoted to what we call special services, which in hindsight just meant that you could be relied on to do very high stakes jobs. And not that you were smarter or better than anyone else, just that you were solid. And so if others saw that in me, then I started seeing that in myself, and I thought it was worth betting on myself at that point. And that's really it. It wasn't like, oh, I saw the opportunity and just let's try it. What's the worst that can happen? If it doesn't work, I go back to having a job.
How did you guys validate the concept of Washmen in the early days, and how did you guys find product market fit? You guys like, okay, we got something there.
So I think the product market fit already kind of existed. If you think about not the product as in Washmen, laundry services in the UAE were not new. Everyone had a laundry guy. No one knew who they were. They just called, I had a my guy. And the culture of laundry existed. And everyone was using them. And there was Champion Cleaners, Dubai Laundry, Adima Laundry, Platinum Laundry, Magic Eagle, Platinum Fly, or whatever. So many laundries. So we had a lot of peers in the market at that point, and you looked at them and they looked like they were doing quite well. So the business model, it was clear would work. Now, we thought that Rami had the insight of saying the delivery mechanism is not great. It's too dependent on calling people. It's too I mean, you could WhatsApp them, but they never really showed up. Back then, by the way, data was a problem. Not everyone had data, yeah? So like, you never knew if they would show up. You didn't know when they would show up. The customer service was poor. Things got lost, and so on and so on. And so we just believed that we could do something that was superior to that. And the way we validated someone would be interested in a service that's online is we just said, hey, here's the value props. We did a Facebook ad back when Facebook advertising wasn't a big thing, by the way. 2015, Facebook had just gone to the mobile feed, by the way. I don't know if you remember that. And so we did that ad. I think 2013 is when they went to the mobile feed. But no, 2015 is when they got it right. And we did an ad, and then customers were clicking through and saying, yeah, I would like free underwear. And there was quite a few of them because that was the validation. It's like, these are the value propositions: on demand, tokenized digital payments, next day delivery, which we since gave up because we realized it was a terrible idea. And I forgot the fourth one, but anyway, those were the things. And and we will give you unlimited underwear on your first order or something. And then many people signed up, like several hundred people signed up.
What do you mean unlimited underwear?
And then like we'll clean all your underwear for free on the first order.
Okay, really?
Yeah. Okay. For that month. And then you saw that there was a lot of people that were interested in that in the service. I'm not sure what they were interested in, but that was the way we validated the concept. And then we built the app and we launched it. And within the first month, I think we closed the first month with 10,000 US of revenue. So like 100,000 or 120,000 annualized. So within a year, we were at $1 million ARR.
Wait. What the hell? Wait. So man, that's a story. So the way that you guys validated the idea, which is you ran an ad with which the application was not there.
It didn't exist.
It didn't exist. And it was like a fake ads, or no, you actually took customers.
We registered interest. You know how Hermes now for their bags, they go and tell you like, we would like you to express your interest in this bag. So not put your name on the waiting list. There was no waiting list. It was just, are you interested in such a service? And the answer was yes. So that was it. That's all we did.
You create an ad just to a smoke test, just to see if there's actual interest, but you didn't actually take orders or whatever.
No, we didn't. Just to say like, this service is coming soon. Express your interest.
Man, I love this story so much because this is very unintuitive, by the way, because people, they see a problem, I want to go build and let's go. No, but you guys decided to pause. Let's validate if our assumptions are valid or not.
Yeah, I mean,
man, that's the name.
It seems obvious, right? It seems like, because I forgot, I read with one of your other guests, they said like most people are building things no one wants, right? And then, not most people, like a lot of people build things that nobody wants, and there's a romanticism to an idea, and there's sometimes we fall in love with the idea, with the concept, with the business, but then we realize that you don't realize until you go live with it because you're shielded, you're protected from the others because you're in stealth mode or whatever, and then you don't expose it to the elements, and you don't let the elements such as friends, the market, experts help you to refine it. Not to say that they're all right, but you're the source of the idea. At the same time, even if you're a source, you need to have refinement elements and conversations throughout the way, because the faster you can iterate on an idea, the better off it gets. There's a book that talks about problem solving. I forgot what it's called, but it's something with the gentleman has a name with a B on him. And they talk about how different people solve problems. There's two ways that we know of. The first way is that people think that they can sit down behind a desk and think it through 100 times. And then some others will go at it and they will be wrong 100 times and the 101st will be right. And I think in business, historically, it seems from all the literature that we consume in startup land, that iteration is a better way of building a business than sitting behind a desk and thinking through the solution thoroughly. It just seems so. And so we were in the camp of iteration.
Man, I want to send this clip to my team. They keep sending me ChatGPT stuff, which is no one actually doing the work and test this idea. But again, so first, you had this assumption, you validated the assumption to Facebook ads, and you had this you had next day delivery. You gave them the offer, which is underwear cleaning for free. You registered interest. And how did you know that it was there was a good intent? Did you calculate how many people actually went to the ads versus how many people actually said they were interested? Or no? How would you?
To be honest, it's quite some time ago.
Okay.
I don't even think I know what I knew what impressions were back then. I just knew. So to ask you, like on the top of the funnel, no idea. I just knew how many registered. Again, I don't know where analytics were back then on ads. I have no idea. I don't have any memory.
But how did you know that it was a success?
I didn't. Sometimes you just knew that the business was there. Like everyone was using laundry. You needed it. Don't forget, Dubai has multiple problems when it comes to laundry. One, you don't put it on the balcony, fire risk. That's a big one. You don't put it on the balcony in the summer because guess what? Even if it's not a fire risk, it gets dusty and muddy. You don't leave them in indoor spaces because with the high AC, the humidity is quite high in the rooms. And then either one, you have mold issues or they never dry. So you had a lot of these issues, and we just thought like it makes sense. If most customers had a dryer in the house, our wash and fold service wouldn't exist. Maybe it would, but it would be much smaller.
Yeah.
But the fact that they don't just makes it much more convenient because the drying part is quite a problem and the folding part is quite a problem. But first, the drying.
Yeah, true.
And so we just knew because of the setup that if you just offered something that was much more convenient, that was the fourth thing. Incredible convenience through a mobile app.
Yeah.
That was the fourth value prop I missed out on. If you just offered it with maximum convenience, it would work.
So you tested this idea of Facebook ads. You registered that there's interest. What's next? Next is to go build the app. Exactly what next did you do guys?
So we had gone through an incubator called Flat Six Labs.
Yes.
That gave us some credibility that allowed us to fundraise a seed round of like something around 375 or total was about $400,000. And then with that, we hired a senior engineer who helped us manage the dev shop that we hired with the money that the incubator gave us. We got an app out by the end of, so I joined in May 10th, 11th, 12th, something like that. We had an app out by early September. By the time we got it through the app store, it was the end of September. Back then it was quite difficult to get a DONS number. And then we managed to launch the app around September 28, 29. So that was the first day of operation, 2015.
So you take the interest and you went into this incubator and they were like, okay, we'll give you money based on your credibility and your friend's credibility. And they kind of mentored you through the process.
Correct. I mean, Rami had joined the incubator before and they were the ones that convinced him that he needed a co-founder because you can't go at this alone when the scope of work is so varied between physical operations, fundraising, product, and so on. They're like, you should split this. You should get a co-founder that can manage the side of the business that you are not probably interested in doing or that you're not very qualified to do.
Okay. Then, sorry to interrupt you. Then you hired this developer who's managing the dev shop, and then you guys had an app by end of September.
You got it, yeah.
Okay, what next?
So then we launched at the end of September, managed to get a few customers, kept doing our ads. And then, funny enough, our biggest day for a long time was like day number 4, September, whatever day it was. We had 16 orders, which was like, wow, incredible. And then we would have 2 or 3 for a few days, and then it started scaling up quite linearly as we got repeat customers. We ran into a few problems in the early days because we were promising next day delivery, which didn't have enough time to do proper stain removal. It didn't have enough time to do good communication with customers. It didn't have good time to do drying the right way, so the laundromat was taking shortcuts. So that went badly. First iteration, remove next day delivery, turn it to 48 hours, which is the standard. Introduce more comms with customers. That works. Fine. The laundromat we were working with wasn't giving us the quality we wanted. Find a new laundromat, onboard a new laundromat, then onboard another one. Keep scaling that. Relationship is good. Keep diversifying. As volumes kept growing, volume is in laundry. The thing that determines quality is the quantity you give to every business. So in any operational system, there's always like a capacity that you need to get to. And if you go above that capacity, the error rate goes up significantly. And then the problem is, since the error rate goes up significantly, it's going up not on the marginal increase, not from 100 orders to 110 orders. It goes up from the 0 to 110. So all of a sudden, if you were doing 2% error rate, now you're doing 10. And so now we have 11 orders that were going badly. So we started managing volumes by introducing new partners, which then required more complexity on the software. So then we kept doing that. That was the iteration in the beginning. And throughout that, Rami and I were doing customer service ourselves. And we were learning exactly the kind of challenges the laundries were having in terms of failing to deliver on customer expectations. And soon enough, we realized that there's a product offering that didn't exist in the market. It was Wash and Fold. We introduced it through the partners. We saw that their economic setup, their structure, didn't allow them to do Wash and Fold with good unit economics or good quality. It was quite high. It was 79 dirhams in 2016-17 for Wash and Fold. Today, it's still 75. So it's cheaper today than when we introduced it. And then we realized that we couldn't do it for cheaper because our partners would never make money. And so we tested the concept. We saw that customers really liked it. It kept on growing, but it was not as good as we would have liked it to be. So eventually we said, okay, we need to build our own facility to control quality, control margins, and lower prices. So we managed to we convinced investors to make that move from an asset light to a somewhat asset heavier business at that point in time. Vertically integrated Wash and Fold in by November 2017, dropped the price from 79 to 49 and still had higher margins, increased quality, and within a few months the volume more than doubled. So it was price sensitive. We did that quite well, and when we saw what we could do with operating the facility ourselves, we said we need to build our own laundry and dry cleaning facility. And that was motivated, I was reading the brief you sent earlier, and it was motivated by a few things that were happening in the market. Expo 2020 was on its way to Dubai. What that meant was a lot of hotels had opened. The problem is those hotels had low occupancy at that point in time. Supply needs to lead demand. They need to operate. They need to grease their wheels. But that means they also have laundry. But that also means they don't have a lot of money to spend on laundry. So then the market was in a very competitive phase on the B2B side. And when that happens, it puts pressure on the providers to actually lower their prices, which means they lower their margin, which then means they're going to cut some corners. And then eventually our customers started feeling we started feeling as Washmen, the impact of those corners being cut. And we didn't know if that would ever change or not. I mean, there was no way back then to see that Dubai would bloom the way it is blooming right now. And we just said we need to own our own supply chain. None of our laundries were willing to implement our technology to the extent that we thought it should be implemented. None of them were willing to put cameras where we thought they should be. And so we found ourselves often helpless in defending our customers' best interest because our laundries were not willing to do what we thought was right. So we said, time to take it into our own hands. Luckily enough, one of our VCs, the main VC, saw the vision and allowed us to, supported us in fundraising and in anchoring that investment, that Series B round. We raised about $8 million at that point, I think, 8.5. And then we built the facility. And I mean, the rest is history, right? So now we are fully vertically integrated. We own our supply chain. We built the technology team and then the technology to manage every area of the laundry. We connected the customer app all the way to the final part of the laundry, to the folding area, to the conveyor belts. We've created quite a few levers of control within the facility through software so that we can be boutique at scale. So we are massive, right? Just this Sunday, we cleaned 19,000 items. 19,000, this is without Wash and Fold. With Wash and Fold, it was another 17,000 items. And you do that, and yeah, so I mean, if you do the math, every month we're cleaning more than 500,000 garments. Much more than 500,000 garments. And yet we compensate for 2 missing items. We have more claims, and sometimes we don't. The items, they lose their tag, they lose their RFID. We don't know who they're for by the time the delivery is due. But because we have the cameras, because we have the RFIDs, because we have all the logs and all the software, we can trace it back to the right customer and then deliver it to them. And so we really pride ourselves on the fact that we get 99.5% of items out the door of orders, not items. So 99.95% of items are out the door on time within the 48 or 24-hour turnaround time.
That's
so all that is through software.
Yes.
Yeah, all that's through the benefit of software and vertical integration and just, all the logging that we do.
But just if you can take me back to the first customers, you mentioned one of the biggest days, it was 16 orders. How did this initial traction came from? Was it just like paid ads? Was it Facebook ads?
It was Facebook ads. It was, at that point, it was Facebook ads. So if you actually want to trace the evolution of Washmen in the early days. So because we were a startup and we were in the incubator scene, and Meta was again, fostering the new generation of startups coming in the UAE, which is quite a new concept in the UAE anyway. We managed to get to the Facebook office through one of those events that they used to organize. We had a friend that used to work there. He introduced us to the Instagram guys who were going to start ads in the region, and they were about to start geo-targeting. So dropping a pin and choosing a radius. That wasn't in the region. And so he's like, would you like to pilot it? We're like, yeah, of course. Why would you not? And so I remember we did that. We piloted the geo-targeting. It worked very well. We had done a campaign with Elevision that did not convert. We're like, listen, they made the video. Just take that. We have access to Instagram ads. We put it on Instagram ads, and the video back then, no one used to advertise, so it was Amar and Visa, right? And then Washmen. So you thought it was something special, or you didn't even know it was an ad, who knows? So we put that infographic, whatever thing, and it was 3 cents, 3 fils a view, 1 US cent a view. So cheap, and it was reaching hundreds of thousands of people. Hundreds of thousands of people. I don't know, but it was 200, 300, something like that. And it just took off. And so we had early access to geo-targeting, early access to Instagram ads when no one was doing them. Back then, Dove and Coca-Cola were trying to figure out the digital strategy. Our competitor at that time, called Laundrybox, thought they had to raise money, or I don't know their financial conditions, but they wanted to raise money to advertise on social. It wasn't clear what was going to happen. It's kind of like you think about AI now. Mobile was a thing, clearly it was going to become a thing, but the entire infrastructure around advertising, service delivery, it wasn't clear where it was going to be. And so our competitors were in the dark, but we had no other option because they had a business to defend. They had a moat they needed to protect. We didn't. We had nothing to lose. And so when you have nothing to lose, you just try things out and you see what sticks. And that was kind of it. And then we had one of our colleagues comes to us, a friend of ours, said, hey, I want you to meet these Misfit guys. And we met, Misfit, the content creators. Yes. He's like, they did a campaign for one of your peers, but the guy didn't pay for it. And they need to they did a concept and they want to pitch you the concept. So they pitched us the concept. We loved it. It was virality. We were watching Gary Vaynerchuk at that time, and he was like, yeah, you need to get your friends to post it and you need to get them to comment on it. And then so we did all of that engineering, posted the video. They did all of that. And then we boosted it. And then that went viral. And then we did another one, and then went viral again.
Oh, wow.
So we had a few of those early days, and then we got a bit ridiculous where you're like, I came, I saw, I laundered. We started branding the vans beautifully when no one did it. Yeah. Right? We started doing silly things like putting a bazooka in front of a washing machine, saying, RIP washing machine, we're waging war with your washing machine. That was Nelio.
Did you have a creative agency, or was this
this was again, you just hire people who are cool, or funny, or just a bit silly, right? And then one other thing is we started, I don't know, one of our friends used to party somewhere. I forgot where he partied. I think it was Coachella or something. And then he came back or Tomorrowland, and he came back with one of these Indian hats, native Indian hats. And then he just said, yeah, let me just try that out. So he wore it. We went to D3. And then we did a laundry setup there, and he wore that hat, and it became a thing. And then we started using it as a persona. And then we did very cheap quality production, again on Instagram. When everyone was doing high quality production, we went very low quality. And we did it a bit silly, he would open the door with the van, he has the hat on, he throws the bag at you, which again is, by the way, back then, I don't think that was legal for us to be filming cars moving, no licenses. Yeah. As in no video licenses, but there was no one on the street. I mean, we're in the middle of the desert in DIP. So we were doing all these things and they just worked, man. I think people connected with the brand, they connected with the energy, with the youth of the business. And it really went far. So that's kind of how we did it. Oh, man, and eventually, you mature, you rebrand, You figure out your colors to become an online relevant company. That's where these like yellow, lime green, very strong sky blue, that's where all these colors came from, orange. So that's it. And then, you kept evolving the product offering, kept evolving the communication, kept improving the service delivery, the quality, the reliability, the timeliness, and so on. And then eventually the business kind of becomes, the main engine becomes word of mouth. No longer advertising. It's just operational excellence, brand management, combined drive word of mouth.
Man, at first, you guys did amazing execution, but what I'm hearing is it was the right time for the idea, the right time for the marketing. It was the right time to launch Washmen.
We definitely took advantage of the opportunity that arose. There were other competitors.
Yes.
There were other competitors. Why didn't they do it? Is it that we had a unique insight? Is it that we just had much more to lose being two guys with successful careers who now felt their back is against the wall? Is it because we're very good friends we managed to kind of just keep each other going when the going got tough? I don't know. I don't think it's just the right time. I think there's a lot of elements that just clicked that allowed this to work, because there were other players that had the same access to the same infrastructure. They had much more money. They had the facility to control the quality. They had the backers to give them money to do social media ads. I just think we were just much more driven. I really think that's what it comes down to.
Man, I can hear it in your voice. You still have this passion after 5, 6, 8 years. You still have the passion.
It's been 10 years, man. It's been 10 years. Yeah, we were just much more driven. I think we just really, really wanted it more than anyone else did in our industry. And
you mentioned you guys tested wash and fold, and it was a success. How did you guys test that?
So we called a bunch of customers, as usual. You just pick up the phone and say, hey, we saw that you're giving us some underwears and socks and whatever. Would you be interested in a wash and fold service? Registered the interest, called a bunch of more customers. We saw those that gave us underwear, because I used to do the billing myself. I used to do the uploading Excel. I would go to the Excel, the CSV, I would put the order ID, the customer code, and eventually at some point, just by putting in the actual bill, I could almost tell who the customer was more than 15-20% of the time, because people have very similar habits. And so we knew those customers from the CSV uploads. We just picked up the phone, called them, got their interest, gave it free of charge, trialed it out, played around with the operations a bit, and then we got feedback. We implemented the feedback and we moved on. And eventually, again, we iterated until we had our own facility, and then we keep iterating on it even till today. Yesterday, I was in a meeting with a company, all-hand meeting. Sorry. And the laundry manager in Wash and Fold is now we use residual moisture sensors on every towel and every item that's thicker than a pair of jeans in order to make sure it's fully dry. And I was like, wow. I don't know, I'm not going to insult. Who the fuck is doing that? I wouldn't have thought about that.
That's very high tech.
Right. What, is it high tech, or is it dude, the guy just gives a shit?
He cares.
The guy just cares. He just cares. Why does he care? Because every single day you're in these operations meetings, we have this number of issues. These are the customer complaints. We're looking at the complaints. It's really the voice of the customers alive every single week through many forums. Missing items and what we call pending items. There's a forum for that. Every single week we meet. We want not lose items. We want customers to not complain about items lost. So what is it that you need to change over time to give the perception of control? Because sometimes it's the customers, they need to trust you. And for them to trust you, you need to do everything you can to eliminate doubt from their minds. And so a lot of our work is not even just changing the operation, but it's changing the way we package the end of the operation or the close or whatever in order for you to not have that sensation. One small piece of insanity that people don't believe until they come to the laundry is when you give us your clothes and we give them back to you, quite often, we package them together by color. Because we have an algorithm that when we sort your clothes, we put the QR codes and the RFIDs on. The first, we take that, we put it in a list, then we sort the list by item type. So we put all the shirts together, all the t-shirts together, all the pants together, and so on. And then after that, we sort them by color within each. And then after that, we match the colors so that you get all your white shirts together And then if there's a white shirt and a white t-shirt and there was no more other shirts, we put them together. So we color code your stuff. People don't notice this, but it makes a huge difference. It makes a huge difference to how you perceive the service, because you know that the whites are together. I'm just going to look in the white stuff. But you don't think that we thought to do that.
True.
But we also track when customers' complaints are coming. Again, when you look at so many complaints, like, why are they complaining? And then you have that issue yourself because you're using the service all the time as Washmen. Rami, Jad are using the service all the time. And then you figure it out, like, it's worth doing it. Let's do it.
I love, like, you guys, how respect your craft so much, and you really care about why you're those small things. Nobody really pay attention to those small things.
Yeah, I mean, no one's going to clap for you because you sorted their clothes by color, right? But no one expects it. And again, I'm inspired. These are not my ideas. These are not Rami's ideas. These are not Washmen unique ideas. You will look at the iPhone until today, every iPhone ad, and people don't notice it anymore because it's so common. You see the guts of the phone, and the guts are so neat. They don't need to do it. It could look like absolute trash and you would not realize. But they respect their job so much that they understand that if you do every component with the maximum amount of neatness, then that culture transpires to other parts of the company. Of course, we have a lot more work to do to get to that level. But we're there. We have a health and safety department. And we don't use it as a policing department. This is new. The health and safety department has for a role to take care of the people, because if they feel like they're taken care of, they'll take care of our customers. These are small things that, like, make a huge difference. You invest in them when the time is right, because you can't just do everything at once. You don't have money, you don't have resources. But as resources accumulate, you need to know where to deploy them to further the mission and to further the level, the degree to which you can care for your service delivery, which means to your customer, right? But I mean, it's like the details that allow you to deliver the service. Training and development of employees. Oil and gas Schlumberger was really good at that. We're now building training and development into every function. Versatility, or what we call employee not just resilience, but more like flexibility. You need to be able to, like, be resilient. Like, you need to be able to do more than one thing. And so we have a strategy on our people where we say we want to build, not just on our team, not just in the laundry, but in every team. Like, you want to build people who are very valuable within your system, and they're so valuable within your system that they feel useful, they feel productive, and you can pay them more than anyone else that would be available in the market. But at the same time, their utility is maximized because they're in your system, not because of just who they are and what their skill sets are. Meaning, when you have continuity in many roles in the company, and you have a structure and an organizational vision for how the roles develop, you can build an organization in which your pressman, the guy who irons the clothes, earns more than any other pressman in the market. But if you move them out of the system and put him in another laundry, he's not as valuable. And they can't afford to pay him as much. So one of our strategies to prevent people from poaching from Washmen, and you can ask people who try to hire from Washmen, they realize these guys are not very useful to me in my organization because they work within the Washmen system. And that works on the laundry level, it works on the driver level, and it works on the operational level within the office. We haven't added many employees. We have not added a single operations person up until December. He will join us for a few years in the middle management layer. And we've grown more than 3x in the last 4 or 5 years.
And the turnover in the region is very high.
It can be. I'm not sure what the turnover is in companies, but we really try to build in operations, especially when you allow these guys to have context, and they've developed within your organization, and they feel valued, and they feel like they can grow, and they feel like there's other opportunities for them within the organization. And again, the business needs to grow for that to exist. And of course, you're lucky enough that they have had life circumstances that allow them to stay, because sometimes some things you can't control. You get to build a company in which, like, it's almost effortless to keep improving. Because usually it's like you feel like you're running so hard, you're running so fast to stay exactly where you are. And that's what we call defense, playing defense, firefighting. Sometime in 2021, 2022, we got out of firefighting and we got into being on the offense and developing things before they became a problem. Attacking them before they became issues. Seeing the mole come out and, like, beating it before it came out of the hole, right? So that we've been very lucky with.
So I once was discussing with my assistant, and she was in distraught. she lost one of her precious item in laundromat. Why it was such a painful experience? Why people get attached so much to their belongings?
I'll tell you the story from when we launched the Finery, because it answers the question you have very well. We thought the Finery, which is like our high-end laundry service, was for just expensive luxury items. What we found out very early on was what is expensive and what is valuable is not the same thing. People value certain things so much, even though they're not expensive, that they're willing to spend an arm and a leg to clean them. True. They're willing to pay the premium. True. And so, for example, when we were talking about getting people getting married, we got these 2 napkins that had vows written on them. The man's vows to his wife, the woman's vows to her man. We have to clean that. That's very valuable. I would be attached to that.
Of course.
So you don't know the story of the item that got lost. You don't know what it meant to them. You don't know when they bought it. You don't know who bought it for them. You don't know the moment when they bought it, what it meant for them. Okay. But they probably have a reason to be attached to it because it's part of the identity or the story they tell themselves about who they are or how they got to where they are today. And that's the business we're in. Yeah, okay, you're cleaning laundry. It's a bunch of, it's soap, it's a drum, it spins, it gets some water, you drain that, you take it out, you dry it, you iron it. And yeah, okay, that's the work. But then the emotional component of it is quite significant. And we deal with that all the time. You never know. The stories I've had with clients that are telling me, my ex-boyfriend got me this, it was a very important relationship, he passed away. I mean, you're hearing these stories. She cares, man. Like, what are you going to tell her? Like, why do you care so much? How do you let this thing own you? Like I just said now, like, no, there's emotional value. Handed down by my grandmother, handed down by my grandfather, graduation gift, first cashmere sweater I ever had. You never know, man. For the thing I bought with my first bonus, the thing I bought with my first paycheck. At the end of the day, people's clothes or certain items, staples in their wardrobe, allow them to tell stories. And they hold on to those stories as part of their identity. And so you have to make sure you try to minimize as much as possible the likelihood that you are the root cause of that thing that goes wrong to those items.
Man, I really love that as a businessman and an operation, you don't look at them as just clothes. No, you see it from the customer point of view. You're seeing the stories behind those garments. That's amazing.
I think so too. You know, we were talking about, but it's not me. Again, it's going back to the factory floor and looking at clothes. I remember this guy who had leopard. He had like a leopard or a cheetah. I mean, I don't know. I'm embarrassed to say I know the difference, but it's like a leopard and a cheetah print. And then you go back and it's like, okay. And then he has like a very classic pair of pants, and that's his order, 2 items or something. Brunello Cucinelli pants, super nice, and then leopard. And you're looking at it like, who is this guy? Like, what's his story? And then you go and you see, like, we've gotten these like mannequins that are very funny. We have photos of them. They're the weirdest things we've ever received. And you're looking like, what is the story of this person and what do they do in their life? Because they're a very strong user. But on this one order, they sent us something that looks absolutely absurd. So what is the story of their life? Who are they and what do they do? And so right now the guys are working on a campaign. I'm not sure what it'll be called, either the fabric of Dubai or pieces of us or something. But the idea is to tell the story of our customers and ultimately why they hire us to do the job of caring for their clothes. And so there is a human behind the story. There's a narrative, there's a story, and we want to surface it because ultimately, like, okay, yeah, you're hiring us to clean your clothes and iron your t-shirt and whatever. That's one thing that some people do. But every now and then, you're hiring us for something else. You're hiring Washmen or the Finery or Shoe Care to make sure, to extend the life of that shoe you absolutely love, that is super comfortable, right? And that you just like, dude, it's my first like Loro Piano. It's my first Golden Goose. I really like it. It's the shoe that I've been going to the gym in so long. It's my Metcon 7s or whatever. I just don't want to buy new Metcons. They don't make them anymore. I can't find them in my size. I don't like the Metcon 9s. So that's one job. Then there's the job of like, I have a wedding. I wish I used Finery for my story, but I have a wedding. It's a 3-button suit, but it's meant to be worn as 2 buttons. It's called the 3-roll 2. It should be ironed to the second one. I just want to give it to a company that knows how to do it right. And so you give it to us, and I gave it to a company in Turkey, and they buttoned it to the third button, which made me look a bit silly. If you send it to the Finery or to Washmen, we know what a 3-roll 2 is, which is a type of suit. We know that the third button is meant to be the second one. We differentiate between English brands and Italian brands, and we know that the Italian brand is meant to be the second button. And if you're a customer and you have that issue, complain to us because we should be getting it right. We train our staff to know the difference. So you want to have that, but you also just want to know that like your silk scarf is going to have its stain removed. Some simple jobs you have, or like your kids spilled like sauce all over their t-shirts like my son does, and you just want to send it and have it removed, and you want to make sure that it's going to be done right. And if it's not done right, that they're going to try their best, and that you can ask them to go harder. So you want to have that. So relationship with the business, and we try to do it. We're not always good at it. Some customers have different expectations or higher expectations or than we're able to deliver on. But I mean, we try to do it as good as we can with as many customers as possible.
Man, I never knew that laundry business is as exciting as this. But
yeah, listen, you know, you mentioned it as it's boring. The details are quite, you know, you asked why we succeeded, because I don't think we find these details to be, I think because we find them exciting. This is like, I was telling the story a few weeks ago of, man, I remember we were printing these QR codes that you put into the items and then you gun them in to the care label. And I remember we were looking at it, we're like, man, why is it not scanning? The QR code is not scanning. And then, oh yeah, it's because like, you know, when you print this paper, it gets crumpled. And then we said, okay, we got an idea. We're going to put the QR code on the corner. And then we said, no, we can put it on 4 corners. And then if it folds, you can just grab it and scan it from any direction. And we thought that is the innovation of the century. Until today, we look at it, we're so proud of it. Like 4 QR codes every corner. How amazing. And then every now and then also like RFID. 2 holes in an RFID. One to go on the hanger, the other one to go on the garment label. Wow. So smart. We designed it on the iPad. Look, we drew it. We designed it. I mean, you know, these silly things, and you get excited by the smallest problem and the biggest problem. And then I think that's it. I think that's what, again, you respect the fact that this is not easy and it's not meant to be easy. And that if you want to innovate, if you want to change, you do kind of have to push some boundaries. Sometimes it seems silly because no one ever did something great by just like, I'm trying to find the word for it. No one ever did something great or amazing by just saying, yeah, it's easy, let me just wing it and do it fast. It's like, no, you do it. I don't like this. I don't like this. Let me refine it. Let me refine it. Let me refine it. It's too complex. Let me simplify, simplify, simplify. That's the Steve Jobs quote, right? Simplify, simplify, simplify. Okay, now it feels right. And now it does everything and everyone understands how it's meant to be used.
Man, that's so insane. Again, I haven't even covered half of my questions. We definitely need to do a part 2, but we reach the end of the podcast. How can our audience find you? If there's anything that you want to promote, how can we learn more about you or about Washmen?
So Washmen, you download our app,
I'll include
the Washmen app, notes. Right? So show notes, Washmen app, Washmen.com. For me, my name is Jad Halaoui. Jad at Washmen.com. Yeah, Jad at Washmen.com. I'm not very active on socials. Message me on LinkedIn. Okay. Don't add me. I have more than 100 something invites, 200 invites. I don't read them. Okay. But message me. I read the messages. If you DM me, you have to pay for LinkedIn, I guess. But
great.
Shows that you're serious. Thank you
so much, man.